It's not surprising that in summer the temperature doesn't increase. It's not surprising that temperatures sometimes going to soar to unusually high. It's also not surprising that there will be a heat wave in summers. It's also not surprising that the summers are going to be uncomfortable. But it is surprising when the temperatures increase to such an extent that it breaks almost all the type of records. And this is what has been happening here. This has been what has been happening globally. Some time back, we saw unusual weather phenomena taking place in certain places, like even Arctic region as well, where there were Arctic fires. It was unheard of completely. Then again, some time back, we saw that there had been temperature increases taking place in such type of places where it was hardly seen and observed. Iceland, Greenland. Temperature increase is a new phenomena with which we have just started coping up. And this time in 2021, the temperature increase that is taking place throughout the whole of the world, that is in different places. And as you will go to observe it, that is the whole of this region, this entire region is seething into it, seething under a very high temperature. That means high temperature is responsible for singeing this entire of the region comprising of Vancouver, that is the Canadian portion of it, and then Lytton, that is just somewhat away from it. And it is really surprising that 50 degree north, the temperature can go to increase to, can you imagine, 49.5 degrees centigrade. Can this be the amount of temperature increase that is going to be expected? At the same time, it is going to be in California as well. California is also seething, and not only that, Boston towards the eastern side is having an equally high amount of temperature condition. That is something close to that of 44 degrees centigrade. Now, such type of temperature increases have also been taking place in India. India, there has been a break of monsoon. This is the time that is on the eve of July. You always going to find that the whole of India has been by and large covered with a good amount of rainfall, and the first shower of the monsoons have been seen and observed in these regions. But what is exactly happening is that North India is reeling under a high temperature, and monsoon have taken a break. It has almost gone on a holiday. Now, why exactly is this type of an event taking place? Where all that it is taking place? What have been the impacts of it? And is it likely to happen even in the near future? Now, this is what exactly requires to be answered right now. So, as you can go to observe it, that is the temperature increase that has taken place in some portion of Canada is much more than what exactly is being observable in the Middle Eastern region. That is from Dubai, that is in the desert regions. These are the desert regions, and the temperature in all of these regions of Canada is much more than what you are going to be observing in these places. Coming to its explanation. This is the map of the world that shows you how is it that the winds are blowing, and as you can go to see, this is the pattern of wind that is going to be found towards the eastern portion of North America, towards Florida. You will also going to observe that there is another system of wind that has developed in a cyclonic manner also in the northern hemisphere. That's one place. You will also going to find that the wind pattern in Africa is going to be showing certain degree of indeterminate pattern. It's not very, very clear, but then the winds happen to be moving around a low pressure system here. As you can go to come on to India, as you'll go to observe it, that these winds are originating somewhere from here. This is the place from where they are going to be originating, from the eastern portion of it in Arabian region, and then they are affecting India. It is these winds that are able to reach to the North Indian portion that has been responsible for causing such a high temperature condition. Now, that is a map that goes on to show the global phenomena. As you can go to see it in a detail, you will go on to observe something very, very peculiar in this region. As you can go to come on to this portion here. What you observe is, just observe these winds. This is how these winds are moving, and it is these winds that are going to be affecting the whole of this region, the entire of this place. Now, these winds are part of a global atmospheric circulation. That means this is the way that the winds go on to move. There is one component of it. Now, all of these winds normally, as one can go on to see it, that they should be bringing a good amount of moisture. But why is it not that they are not able to bring some amount of moisture to this place, to the whole of Vancouver region, to the whole of California region, where the temperatures are going to be so high? Now, this is largely because of the existence of a heat dome over this place. And this heat dome is it's almost like this heat dome is like a dome of air that exists over these regions. In this dome, the air goes on to sink and subside. This is an air that sinks and subsides in the region. Now, such type of a sinking and subsidence takes place somewhere from an elevation of about 2,000 to 3,000 meters. Such type of a sinking and subsidence has three effects. The first is that anywhere where such sinking and subsidence takes place, then it will go on to lead to abundance of sunshine. And why the sunshine will go on to take place? Because the air is not rising. It is only when the air is rising that the rising air is responsible for cooling, condensing, and leading to the formation of clouds. Now, in this case, the air is not rising at all. That's number one. Second is, as the air goes on to sink and subside, then in the process of sinking and subsidence, it's itself compressed. It compresses itself, and as it goes on to get itself compressed, its temperature goes on to increase. And as the temperature increases, the temperature really goes on to increase at a phenomenal rate. For example, there is likely to be something like some 8 or 9 degrees centigrade temperature increase taking place when such type of a subsidence is likely to take place here. That means the place which was normally going to be having something like some 36-35 degrees centigrade of a temperature with 8-9 to 10 degrees centigrade temperature increase, it goes on to become 45 degrees centigrade, and that is not a normal increase at all. So that is existence of a heat dome. And there is a third factor. When such type of a heat dome takes place, then the surface that goes on to get warmed, let's say the surface has got itself heated, and in normal circumstances, when this surface has got itself heated, then it will go on to allow some degree of a convection to take place, and this convection will go on to rise. What this heat dome is doing is it's preventing that convection. That means it's like you have boiled water in a kettle, and you have boiled this water in kettle and you have kept a lid over it. That means the temperature of that boiled water remains in that place. So this heat dome is responsible for allowing the temperature to remain high also in this case. And this is what is happening towards the western region of United States, and that's also happening towards, as you can go to see, towards the eastern region, towards Boston region as well. And when we are going to be talking about it, we are effectively talking about that these are the two regions where such a phenomena has taken place, as it is taking place. So why exactly is it taking place? Now, most of the theorists will go to ascribe these things to something like global warming. That means talk anything and they will go to get it correlated to global warming. Of course, the global temperature increases are a part of it, and it takes place because of all of these aspects. So these type of global temperature increases are nothing new, but it has been taking place for so long a time. But had it been that global temperature changes have been the only reason responsible for bringing about such type of an event, extreme temperature events, then this would have happened for the first time ever in the entire recorded history. That's not all, because California in 2009 had achieved something like 45 degrees centigrade of a temperature condition, and in Canada, if it is happening, then minus 2-3 degrees centigrade of temperature change, it happened 84 years back. That means there was no global warming 84 years back. And of course, if it was not done, it must be ascribed to certain type of atmospheric phenomena. And atmospheric phenomena or such some of these things that is generally going to be not known, and it can happen and develop all of a sudden in any localized place. So that there are three conditions for it. Global warming is one of them, one factor. Second of them is the existence of this heat dome, that is a localized phenomena. And the third is, of course, we are spewing up of a lot of pollutants in the atmosphere. Wherever some of these type of pollutants going to get trapped, they are responsible for increasing the heat. This type of weather phenomena in North America is likely to remain for another week or so. That means up till about 7th, 8th or 9th of July. It will keep on remaining like that in that region for some amount of a time. But then India is going to be engulfed in that, and there are factors which are responsible for bringing about certain type of a change in India. If you can go to study that part, you'll going to find it completely different. The case of India is very different in comparison to that of these places. And how is it going to be so? Take a look at it. Normally under such type of a condition, in this condition, if you can go to see this global atmospheric circulation, this is how the winds go on to move in India at this point of time. Winds coming from Pacific region go on to move, winds coming from Bay of Bengal region go on to move into India. Winds also from this region keep on moving towards India, that is from the Arabian Sea region. Both of these winds are going to be rain laden, and they are responsible for bringing a good amount of rainfall to India. This is not happening. Of course it has happened, but then it is only partly responsible for it. And why only partly? Because some of these winds that have moved into India here, they have been responsible for bringing good amount of rain to the eastern portion of the country. But then beyond something like Allahabad and north of it, the regions have been by and large completely dry. And there are reasons for it. The first reason in this case is, of course, is that is there is a high pressure system that is existing where that is from these regions, from the whole of this Arabian region, the winds are moving into India. If these winds are moving into India, what is causing these winds to move into India, and how is it that the monsoons are not affecting it? Now, as you can go to understand it even better right now, normally in these type of conditions, this is how the winds are moving into India. And these winds are strong winds. Now these winds are strong enough to dispel any winds which happen to be coming from the western part. Consequently, the whole of the country goes on to get covered under the monsoon winds and these rain-laden winds. What is happening right now is that the monsoons have become weaker. They have taken a break. They have gone on a holiday of sorts. And because they have taken a break, then all of these westerly winds have gone on to become dominant. These westerly winds coming from the dry regions of African desert, Saharan desert, and also of course the Arabian desert, they are dry, they are very, very warm, they are very, very hot, and they have affected the whole of the northern portion of the country, leading to a heat wave condition. And people thought that is by May, all of these heat wave was going to be over. That's reason number one. The second is again the dome effect. So whenever there is a dome effect, the same thing happens. That is, it's an anticyclonic circulation, that the winds are moving in all directions. Winds are moving away. The winds are sinking, subsiding, and moving away. So as the winds go on to sink, in the process of this sinking, they raise their temperature, and then it is in a tropical condition. The sun's rays are striking directly over it. It's a tropical condition. The sun is just overhead, and the intensity of the sunlight is really, really very high. So the intensity of the sun rays is very high. There is an anticyclonic circulation. There are no clouds at all to filter the sun's rays here. And because of all of these factors, the surface has got heated. And as the surface has got heated, of course, this heat doesn't go on to become liberated. It doesn't get liberated to the atmosphere, largely because this high pressure, this dome-like condition, not as intense as that in North America, but then such a dome-like condition is responsible for not allowing the heat to escape at all. And there is a third factor, that is the eastern portion, that is the monsoon winds coming from a Bay of Bengal region have not been strong enough. And why is it they have not been strong enough? Now this can be linked to a global phenomenon which no one generally goes on to know, but then just before the monsoons this time, there had been two cyclones that affected it. One from the westward, as one goes on to know that there has been one, and the second one has been through Bay of Bengal region. Two of these have affected that, and there had been a so-called unseasonal rains in this case. Now that was also unusual, but then that was part of it. What these tropical cyclones go on to do is that is, as these tropical cyclones go on to take place, that means if it is going to be moving towards India, and this is where a tropical cyclone has taken place, tropical cyclone disperses all of these winds. That means such type of a tropical cyclone that took place and that affected it, such one of it, these monsoon winds that were moving towards India, these monsoon winds got itself affected in the sense they got themselves dispersed. The same thing happened here as well. There was one tropical cyclone here, and all of these winds that were trying to enter into India at that point in time, they're trying to getting themselves intensified, they got themselves dispersed. So this may have been one of these factors responsible for it. But assuming that, supposing that these things wouldn't have happened, so if it is that these things wouldn't have happened, is it that these type of events wouldn't have taken place? Now, still some of these events would have taken place. Supposing a tropical cyclone wouldn't have taken place, even then North India would have been reeling under such type of a high temperature condition, and it would have been getting itself singed in this case. That's one factor. Then as far as North America is concerned, North America had received such type of a condition. That means it has been not once, it has been before also in the history it has taken place. This is largely because of course global warming and high temperature conditions are always responsible for bringing about a change in this case. But then even if they don't going to take place, even if nothing happens, human beings don't going to increase the temperature, there is nothing called as a global warming, still it will going to take place. And this has had taken place. That is 84 years back, 126 years back, it had taken place. This is largely because nature itself is changeable. This nature itself keeps on changing every time and almost all the time. This is largely because the only constant in nature, the only constant in weather is change.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.